Hello, ladies, and welcome to the Menopause Made Easy podcast today. And I have a beautiful guest, Denise Benning, who is a former Olympic medalist or skater, I should say, in the 1988 Calgary Winter Olympics. And I met Denise years ago because she moved to my little small town. And we've, just bump into each other, have great chats. We love each other's energy. And she is a Canadian energy healer. So we're going to dive into that. A divine channel, author, and intuitive dedicated to guiding and empowering individuals on a journey of self-discovery, spiritual alignment, or enlightenment, I should say,
I
and
like alignment.
soul connection. And at the core of her practice lies a commitment to the powerful potential of multidimensionality and divine love as a pathway to healing and ascension. Oh, she also owns, for everybody, an Airbnb, or is it on, I can't, what's the other one? I can't think of the name, but a rustic retreat in the woods, and it's beautiful. She has a yurt where she hosts live classes, and anyway, we're going to dive into all of the wonderful things that Denise does today. So thank you, Denise, for coming on my podcast. We're going to explore some interesting subjects today.
Yes, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Yay! Okay, so, I'm just going to dive in that, I met you, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe, I don't know, 6 years ago that you've lived here.
Yeah, we've had this place. I mean, I've been coming up here since 2009, 2010, and then I moved here permanently, like full time in 2017. So we've been bumping into each other over the years, many, many, many,
Yes.
many times. Yeah.
And so when I met you, this is just my perspective, everybody. Denise had a very different profession. Okay.
Mm.
She's in marketing. She was more, kind of like, I wouldn't say this when I met you, but I'd say it now, just kind of searching for what do you want to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. I was at the end of my event marketing career. Well, I was still when I first moved up here, but 2017, when I came up here full time, I was searching. I was like, what
Yeah,
next in life, right?
right. So you're going through this, the kids have left the nest. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, who am I? What's
The
my,
who am I was the big question.
right?
Especially like I would have been, 50, almost 50,
Yeah.
49, 50 when I came
So a
up.
lot
So
of women in this perimenopausal journey-ish age, right, are saying, who am I? Like I was a mother. Well, I still am a mother, but my roles have changed
oh
and I
yeah,
took this
totally.
time and like, who am I? So, I saw you doing different things to figure
Mhm.
out who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to do with these years as they're unfolding in front of me? Right. And then through trial and error, you did a lot of different things. And then you really found your soul's purpose.
Oh man, did I ever.
So I want to talk about that today because I want you to really kind of give people an idea of how you finally was like, this is what I want to do. And it's scary. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, but I've got to do this to live in my authentic being, to be my authentic voice. So if you can just
Yeah.
kind of walk us through that process, because I know there's a lot of women in this process right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because I mean, I wouldn't say I lived a boring life.
no,
I was an Olympian, so I had that kind of background and I mean, I finished that when I retired at 20, but it's a part of you, right? And so and in that kind of Olympic athlete world and connected to that. So there was lots of interesting opportunities in there. And then I was doing corporate events. I was a corporate event manager for I don't know, 30, well, 25 years like professionally in the corporate world and doing really cool festivals and events and all over the country and that kind of thing. But when you do something, even if you love it, you do something so long, it starts to feel like, okay, what's next? And it was interesting because the event industry was changing like really a lot and bigger agencies were taking over and my small company that I was working for wasn't getting the work. And so I found myself when I moved up here full time in 2017, like finishing up a contract job and then trying to figure out what I could do here, because I didn't want to be driving back and forth to the city and all of those kinds of things. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll do events up here in the country. And that was an interesting kind of dynamic because most people aren't used to paying for event managers up here because it's such a volunteer base, right?
Mhm.
And so I found a couple of opportunities, but I realized it wasn't going to be my next thing. And plus, it wasn't making me happy. There
Mhm.
was a piece of me, and I realize it now, there was a piece of me my whole life that felt restless about something. Like I just wasn't sure what it was. And I had been interested in spirituality, but kind of on the down low. It was a subject that if I talked about, people might kind of like sort of looked at me like it was kind of funny. So I would kind of explore it in secret or just watch like mediumship shows and maybe read a book here and there. And thank God for ebooks because I could read whatever I wanted and no one could see what I was reading and those kinds of things.
Mhm.
And so I was sort of I had that interest, but it wasn't I wasn't something that I would be like, oh, that's going to be my next career, you know? And I ended up connecting with I went away to Mexico in 2018 and had a mystical experience when I was there. And it was like, what? Like, what was that? Because it really made me feel good.
Mhm.
I connected to an aspect, connected to my spirit there in a
Mhm.
way that I had never really understood. And so that was sort of like I bookmarked that. I'm like, okay, something's there. But how do I do this? Well, lo and behold, there was an incredible circle of mediums in this and psychic people who are specialized in psychic development and intuitive development and so I thought, maybe I'll do that. And then I also connected to an incredible group of women in town through Impact 32 and the volunteer base that was here and started to network. And through that networking, I got to know Deb Kemp and her business of the Quarther Mediums. And she happened to be connected to the chamber. And then I thought, oh, maybe I could use my skills there. So I became the chamber manager for a couple of years. And so it was just this gradual sort of I had that side gig for the chamber, which was great because it allowed me to sort of start thinking about what is this spiritual thing that's going on. And then I just allowed myself to believe and follow the breadcrumbs. And that's the scary part is just
Mhm.
trusting that it's the right thing. But and you can't shake it though because it feels so good. Like it filled a piece of me, like mind, body, spirit and I had the body and I had the mind. I was like, you know, businesswoman and marketing and events and really like buttoned down and I had a lot of body awareness from being an athlete. But the spirit part, I mean, I had tried religion and those kinds of things and nothing was sticking, but there was a peace and it dropped in and then the universe completely aligned everything for me like my job, my main job, my contract stuff started to disappear and then stuff that could sustain me showed up in this town and the right people showed up here and so if you pay attention to that
Mhm.
even though it might seem totally random, there's nothing random about it,
No,
right?
there's nothing random. And you know what? Hindsight is very interesting because you can look back and you can be like, oh, that's why
Mm-hmm.
that happened. I didn't really get it in the moment. Like, why am I doing this? And then you're like, oh,
Right.
okay, if I hadn't have done that, I couldn't have done this.
100%. And the one thing I've learned is that as we're moving through our lives as women, everything that we've done in the past, none of it's a waste of time, like none
Yeah.
of it. Even though if you feel like you went on a tangent and you need to get back to yourself, you learn so much about yourself. You learn about the world, you learn about your soul, you learn about like everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see now everything that I did, how it works so beautifully here. Like I'm an energy healer. I'm into all kinds of really interesting sort of out there stuff, divine channeling and angels and everything. But I'm also an entrepreneur. And I'm a member of the chamber. And I'm involved in community work. And so I stay very grounded
Mm-hmm.
that way as well, which I love. And it connects me to lots of amazing people. And I think I'm a connector. Like I just love community and those
Mm-hmm.
types of things because I found the power of community when I came here and I was lost. And I'm like, what am I doing now? Like I'm 50 and what next? And I've been this particular person for 25 years and or more. And so, like you said, who am I really?
Yeah, and I love that you opened up that question and you became curious. And I think what I love about your story is you are willing to try different things. So a lot of
Hmm.
times women get very stuck. It's like, well, what if it fails? What if it's not what I'm supposed to be doing? I'm like, well, just try it and you'll know.
Right.
Try it. Just try something different. Put yourself in a different situation. Just see, does this feel good? Does it not feel good? And sometimes it may not feel good initially, but as you
Right.
get into it, right, and you
Yeah.
understand that your body and your brain are just trying to keep you safe, but you really want to explore this, there's definitely, you can say, and I can say, like, fear and discomfort
Yes.
and like, oh my gosh, like,
Yes.
this is
Yes.
so great. But when you're saying, like, you're getting this nudge that this is okay, it's okay to be afraid, it's okay to be feeling
Yes.
uncertain. This is taking you in the next step. Now, we're not talking about being in a dangerous situation here.
No, no, and not at all. But
It
yeah,
just
like,
that discomfort.
yeah, and change can be messy and it can be
Yes.
scary and it can be weird, especially when you're going to something spiritual, because there's aspects of energetic awareness and spirituality that can be really weird. And I came to a conclusion the other day. It's like, thank God I allowed myself to be weird in the privacy of my own home. Like to just explore things that feel outside the box for you,
Okay, so
or
what are a couple of those things? Because you know what, I've always been weird. I've always been a little bit on the, oh, she's a little weird, but I'm like, I don't want to be normal. So I'm okay with that. But
right. And well, for spirituality, it's the kinds of like the energies that I work with. And I speak a strange spiritual energetic language called light language. And I'm channeling energies and, dancing around my room and just like dancing with energy and playing with it and feeling different consciousness in the way I embody energy. And so when it first started, I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. But it felt it was seemed weird on the outside, but on the inside, it felt totally normal. And so I had to trust it. And then I met people that were like, oh yeah, that happened to me. That happened to me. And that happened to me. So community and validation and connection, like you just got to put it out there and say, you know what? I'm going to be weird in the privacy of my own home. And then I'm going to find the community that I can talk to about it and say, has this ever happened to you? Has this ever happened to you? And the
yeah,
power of telling your story, you know that, and I'm learning that is incredible because you'll be so surprised how many people can resonate with that or see themselves reflected in your story, or at least there's a breadcrumb there that they go, oh, oh, you mean I'm not, you mean this is normal or this is okay? And I'm sure like when we're talking about menopause and all of the things that happen to your body and the ways your emotions are changing and all of that kind of stuff, unless there's other women to talk about, you're like, oh my God, like what is going on?
yeah, exactly. And you know what's interesting is, because my husband will say to me sometimes, Tanya, that's not normal. And I say, that's okay. I don't want to be normal. Like, I really don't. I really look at societal programming to see what have I been so duped on? Like, where is my thinking
Yes.
in all of this? And
Yes.
why can't I put music on and jump on my trampoline and skip down a road and go into the field and scream if I need to? And
Right?
who says these things are or are not normal? I
Right. And why
I
can't we,
need
yeah. And why can't
I
in our
need
fifth
to
in us in
shed.
our 50s,
Yes.
just be like beautiful and sexy and own everything and like not care about all the crazy little things that used to get at us. It's just like step into it. Just
Yeah.
step into
Step
it. I
into it.
love my 50s. Even through the ups and downs of the changes and all of that kind of stuff. I love my 50s.
Yeah, I do too. You know what? I feel like I'm in my 30s.
Yes.
I feel energetically very young. Physically, I do notice some things. I look at my face though and I go, "Oh, you're not 30." But I feel like my energetic presence is
Yeah.
very youthful. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I
No.
want to be this youthful spirit. And so when I tell people I'm in my 50s, sometimes I laugh because I'm like, "Oh my God, like that is just so funny because I don't feel this."
No, I know. I'm going to be 57 next Sunday. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, right?
Right? But man, it's exciting. And, I mean, energy really is an incredible way to feel youthful and to feel empowered and connected and grounded even. And the changes I've seen in myself, like if you, well, you know who I was like 6 years ago. I've been doing this for 6 years and I look completely different,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
You know, we talked about that once because there's the weight off your shoulders. There is weight on us that
Mm-hmm.
we're holding on to, like I'm talking physical scale weight for some people or
Yes.
body shape. And when you step into your authentic self, you shed without
Oh
doing.
yeah. Yeah. We should call it, I used to call it the metaphysical diet, because when the weight gain that I had in menopause just started to disappear without me even realizing it. But maybe it should be the authenticity diet.
Yeah.
Right? Because I like what you just said. Like it's really about finding your authentic self and being comfortable with, like, I love this body more than I've loved. And I was an Olympian. I was like in the top shape. And at that point in my life, I didn't think my body was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how it flips.
Mm-hmm.
And so that empowerment of allowing yourself to be an authentic
Yeah,
woman.
which I think is so scary for some people. I really do, because it's like, what is this inner voice? Why am I not? What's the fear? And, I hope from today's conversation, you get the idea of, how both, you were in a job that provided you with some money and you like flittered in and tried different things and you built it up. And then when you were ready, you launched your business, and all the things that you're doing now are just so in alignment with how you are moving and through this earth. So if
Yeah.
anybody is just like, what is this energy thing you're talking about? Like, what is this? What's energy? How could you describe that?
Yeah, yeah, that's a that's a big question, right?
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time, but how do we define it? So spirituality, so mind, body, spirit. So the basis of what I do and teach and work in and in my healing is the idea is that we are energetic beings, eternal, living a human life. And so there is an energetic aspect of us, and you can call that your soul, your spirit, your energy body, the subtle body, all of that. It's a field of energy, and it's as important to us as our physical body and our mind. And whether we realize it or not, we are connected to other people's energy of the planet. Like we are connected, like this whole idea of unity consciousness and the field of one, which you will hear thrown around in the spiritual circles that we kind of move in. And but there's so much truth to it. And so your energy, um, you need to protect your energy. You need to make sure you're not giving it away and you're not allowing other people to take from more than you can give. You also want to like all the things that happen in our lives, like the way we believe things, the traumas we've had, the way people have spoken to us, or the way we feel about ourselves. That's the most important one. All of those kinds of experiences, that energy sticks to you, and it can make you heavy, and it can make you emotional and sad, and like all that kind of stuff. And so you realize you have the ability to clear that, like the energy chakras, those
Mhm.
energy centers that represent different parts of us, different ideas that we have about ourselves. It's all energy. Thought is energy, and consciousness is energy. And at the biggest, highest level, we are consciousness and light and energy. And so it's alive. It's the true essence of who we are. It's really and if you think about it I work in what's called multidimensionality, which is another way of saying past lives and different expressions of ourselves. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, we're building experience and we're having different lifetimes, and that builds up within you. And so we have the ability to connect to all of that and heal with it and,
Mhm.
experience so many different things. And so being aligned with your energy, knowing that you are an eternal being that is here to just experience life, gives you a whole other perspective on how to walk through life. It teaches you that there's ways you can heal just by releasing energy and the way you feel about things. And so it's very multi-layered and it's kind of complex, but at the same time, it's just
Very
one
simple.
pillar of who you are.
Yeah,
And you need
I
all three, right? You need them all to be
yeah.
balanced.
I just know on one level, like people are so rigid, like we're not moving like we used to move. So we are stuck energy with movement. We're not
Yes.
flowing. So just moving your body is huge. Nutrition holds energy. A lot
Yes.
of food that people are eating is dead. There's no energy in their food.
Yeah.
So you take a lack of movement, you take a lack of nutrition, and your energy levels are low, and then you're tired all the time. And then I also say, let's just say for this example, you're born with a clean screen. So think of your body like a screen, and the wind blows through the screen, and then your mother tells you, I'm busy, I can't look at your artwork. And that's like dirt being thrown on your screen. And then your boyfriend breaks up with you. And then,
Yeah.
all these little T traumas, big T traumas happen. And then as we age, now this beautiful screen that was clear is now blocked. And the
It's a great
air
way to
can't,
put it.
yeah, the air cannot get through. And so what happens is the whole body, mind, spirit thing you talked about is that you've got to move your body, you got to look at your nutrition, and you need to clean the cobwebs out of your energetic being, your energetic screen, right?
Yes.
And this is
Yeah.
why we are a whole being.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be certain times you look at one area more than the other, but what I really try
Absolutely.
and teach is the whole being generalistically, and then you can pull in, more of your expertise if you want to go deeper. But it is really like people have like you said, with this energy, you can feel the denseness. Like, so another thing is people are turning outward as opposed to inward.
I
And when
know.
you turn inward, you can really start to identify where the heaviness feels and the lightness in your
Yep.
body, right?
Yeah.
And so we are just energy. We are vibrating at a slower rate, and that's why you can see us, like you
Yep.
can see your desk. We're all just energy,
Yep.
and nature is also energy, but you don't see the energy of the trees, but you feel the presence.
Yeah, that's why, there's so many empathic people. And nowadays, everyone is connecting more empathically, so more emotionally, like feeling everyone else's energy, feeling what's going on, like in the whole world. Some people, like I have bad days where I wake up and I'm like, why do I feel angry? It's not mine, but there's something going on in the world that I'm tapping into. And so understanding that can really lift a lot of pressure off your shoulders because some people don't understand why they feel so emotional or
Yeah.
why they're doing that. And so just the awareness of it is important. And you were talking about vibration, and that's a big piece of spiritual development, and we call ascension because your vibration, so your energetic vibration is rising. And when that starts, it's amazing what happens to your body and the
Mhm.
way you feel. Like I just I didn't want to drink wine. I was like loved a glass of wine every night with dinner and things like that. And then all of a sudden my body was like, no. And I was like, but I don't want to. Like my glass of wine. But I'd be like, it's not working for me. Coffee's become cacao. I still drink coffee, but it's more cacao. And the way I eat, the amount of portions that I eat, and all of these things. And I didn't even realize it was happening because what I was working on and the energy that I was channeling and like just being more aware of was changing my physiology,
Yeah.
which was fascinating to me. And so it's just one small piece, but it's all interconnected. And then the way you see the world, you don't feel so um attached to some of the stuff that happens. You can be in a place where you're more neutral about it. You can be more of a witness to it, acknowledge it, allow yourself to feel it, but not like be in it.
That's
And
because people take on a lot of other people's stuff,
yeah.
right? And so what's something that a practical tip? Because there, when years ago before social media, you didn't really know what was happening. I mean,
Right.
information we get in a day used to take like 4 years for people to get.
I know, right? And now there's so much.
Now there's so much. So how do you start to, first, like you said, you have to be aware that so this is one thing I've learned. I can be happy and vibrant even though there's horrible things going on in the world. Okay.
Yeah,
Because if I become depressed and non-functional, I'm not helping to elevate consciousness.
right.
So I can pray and hope and give all my love and really, instead of like sinking down into
That's
this.
exactly what I was going to say. The same thing is when you feel helpless with everything that's going around and you don't feel like you can do anything, there's always something you can do. You can
Yeah,
just tap into your heart, like literally take your focus from your mind and take it down to your heart and just send out, whether you want to call it a prayer or an intention or energy. And you can imagine it flowing down your feet and across the planet to the place that you need it or to the person that needs it. And you can do that. And there are scientific studies by different people who are in spiritual, like scientific spirituality, that have proven that, like, when enough people send energy and love to a situation, stuff changes.
it does. So
It's
what's
amazing.
happening here on this world right now, from how I take it, is we are going through a massive shift. Because so I'm
Yes.
not going to have the language that you have. So we're going through this massive shift of consciousness. So I want you to give me your take when you hear my, words. But and so what I have done over the last few years, because at one point I was angry, I could feel my
Hmm.
anger because I couldn't control things or not how I wanted them to be. And then all of a sudden I let go. And I started to
Yeah.
put purple bubbles in the sky because purple is the color of enlightenment for me.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I put purple bubbles and I filled them with love. And I still do this. Every day I do this. And I wrap these bubbles around people. And I don't have to name who they are, but and then I wrap the whole world and I wrap
Yep.
everywhere. And for me, that has been so helpful because,
Yep.
like you said, they've done studies where there's a hospital with sick people and they get a group of people on the other side of the world to pray for the people in the hospital, and the people in the hospital get better. So they
Yeah.
have done this, like they know the power of prayer and love works. So my contribution to society right now is I'm working to elevate. I'm not going to be pulled down into anger and fighting and
Yep.
despair, and it doesn't mean that I'm happy every day, but I have feelings.
No, right? Yeah.
But I know what's mine and what's not mine. And so that to me is something I think if everybody can stop complaining, and instead elevating and know that the power that they have within themselves is massive if they can pull themselves out of this lower vibrational energy. Okay, so now how
Yeah.
would you translate that?
Well, I think you said it actually perfectly. And I love it's a beautiful visualization for people to be able to hold on to. I always say, I imagine the earth grid is what we talk about, the new earth grid, which is the energetic vibration of the planet and the energetic field of the planet. And so I imagine standing on the grid and that energy goes through my feet and then I can see it go whatever all around the earth, all around the earth. But the idea of the bubbles is beautiful because it's light, right? And when we talk about, I mean, I've been down the rabbit hole with all of the stuff that was going on and has been going on, and you really get caught up in it. And what I realized, I got to a point where I was supposed to witness those things and send it love and do all that, but I wasn't supposed to be stuck in it anymore. And so I stand in a place of neutrality, and then I look in, and if I find that there's people struggling and I want to give them a little enlightenment, I just like, come on over here, come to this side, that kind of thing. But those head, like when we talk about that lower dense energy, someone described it to me like the idea of ascension is you hear about ascension, the ascension process. And what you're doing is you're bringing in more light into your energetic field and releasing old ideas, old programs, beliefs about yourself. And that is heavy energy. And so someone described it as like rocks in a backpack. So you're wearing a backpack and all your thoughts and your programs and your beliefs about you and the world and how you're supposed to be and the person you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to say and what you're not supposed to say. And, you know, the way the way you grew up and, all of those things. They're all heavy in your backpack if they're not aligned with your soul purpose or with what your authentic self is. So as what you do is you take them out of your backpack, you look at them, you say, okay, don't need that anymore, and you put it aside, and then you get lighter and lighter and lighter. The other analogy was like being in a hot air balloon. And so in the basket, you're taking out the rocks. And each time, and that's what energy healing is all about, is this idea that we're removing anything that's stuck in our field. And a lot of that is beliefs about ourselves, or our inability to forgive others or ourselves, or the lack of love we may have felt in different situations. And we can call that shadow work, which sounds really dark and scary, but it's not. It's literally just looking at the parts of ourselves that are hurt or that we don't like so much, and saying, hey, you know what, I do actually love you, but it's time to go. And so you can sort of set intentions. They're so powerful. It doesn't have to be that hard. It can be really, I mean, it's a process, and sometimes you want to look at these things, and that's the messy part of it all. But once you are aware of it, the awareness and then the intention to say, you know what, I'm done with that. I
Mm.
know that that's not a truth of me. And then you can kind of start to step forward into that path of healing, whatever that is. But it's awareness, and you got to look at it. It's just, um, my spiritual mentor, she says, what does she say? She says, we can unpack the suitcase, but we're not supposed to live there.
Mm,
Right?
nice.
We unpack it, we look at it, and then we just we'll send it on its way.
So a couple questions came up because, your analytical brain pops in and you go, am I doing this right? Right?
There's no
Because so
rules.
many people want to be like, am I doing this right? Is this how it's supposed to be? And there's no right way. There's no one way. I think the biggest thing to tap into is awareness. Awareness cures. That is the first step to really
Yep,
step out of yourself and watch yourself, how you interact with people, who triggers you, why you're reaching
yep,
for food, why you're not exercising, why are you resistant to going and having a Reiki treatment, or like ask yourself
yeah,
these questions, because then you start to go, that is coming from a belief that somebody said, whatever, right? And
right,
so
right.
that's
Exactly.
that's how the process starts. It's not doing anything.
We're human beings, not human
Yes,
doings.
right?
Right. And so yeah, presence and awareness
Mhm.
is a huge part of sort of like stepping onto your spiritual path, is just under like being aware of what's going on around you, the signs and synchronicities that people are bringing you, and following those nudges, being aware of who you are as a person, and like just like you explained, all the triggers and all of those kinds of things, and then being present with yourself, and not like distraction is the opposite of that. And there is so much distraction, scrolling on social media, which we're all guilty of, just, oh, I'm going to go over there. Maybe I'm going to go eat this snack instead of doing this, or I got to meditate and I don't really want to meditate. But there's no rules to how you do it. Meditation doesn't have to be like that, right? It
Mhm.
can be walking in the woods. It can be going for a drive. It's all about being present with yourself. So
Mhm.
contemplation and meditation, I mean, meditation can be deep, and I mean, my meditations are like these crazy, magical, beautiful journeys that I go into my multidimensionality in my past lives, and I connect with angels and guides, and that's my version of meditation. And for a while, I thought it was wrong because I thought I was supposed to be empty-minded, and then I realized, no, this is how this is how I'm supposed to do it. And the one of the very first things that I got intuitively from my guides was, there are no rules. And that
Mhm.
comes up over and over and over. There are no rules of how you connect to your spirit and your spirituality. Because when you start to dig in, there's astrology and numerology, and there's this kind, and then there's this and this and this and this and this. And pay attention to what lights you up and says, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then do it like no comparisons. It's not easy because there's so much information out there. But if you really just let yourself be grounded and follow, and there's no timelines. Like I went from 0 to 60 because I was meant to do this and get here for this time in this place. I understand that. But I have clients waking up in their 80s. Like there's never too late.
Never too late. That's what I always tell
Never too
everything.
late.
Never
And
too late. Never too late. And some people might be like, I don't need to change. And I'm like, then that's fine. That's where you
Yeah.
be right now. Like, I know for myself that there's something bigger for me.
Yeah.
And I just know it. And so I'm very curious and
Right.
open
Yeah.
and questioning myself. And I think it's fun. Like that's the
Oh
journey.
my God. It's so fun. I live the most magical life. Like I
Mhm.
really do. And my inner child is just like so over the top with it because I really do love the amazing, wonderful, awesome, magical things that like I mean I connect to other consciousness and I can communicate with it and that's not a normal everyday thing.
Okay, so
We
I
all have the potential to do it.
Okay, so I have a question on this because I hear voices, but then I'll be like, okay, so for example, say I want to do something and I'm like, is that a voice suggesting I do something or is that my voice? And how do I know the difference? And
That's your soul and your higher self.
yeah, do
That's
I
your
need to know
higher.
the difference? Like, does it matter?
No, that's the
Right?
thing. Once you start to trust it,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
I know the difference because I connect to energy and the beingness of it. So I see angels as people and that kind of thing. But we also have our own soul that's speaking to us all the time. Co-creating is what it's called. Our imagination and our intuition, it lives in that place where you think you make things up. And so that's a big step in terms of stepping into your like your trusting your intuition and that
Mhm,
communication with your soul because it happens within your imagination. So whether you see things, feel things, hear things, just know things, once you get a sense and you have like you get used to how you communicate, like you're hearing and you're knowing that's what's dropping in for you. And if it feels right and you can't shake it, that's your soul speaking to you. That's your higher self. That's your intuition. And it's all the same thing. It's your higher consciousness. And we are, because the whole planet's raising in their vibration, and we are all sort of waking up, as we like to say, so connecting more to our higher wisdom. It's getting easier and easier for us to do it.
mhm,
And when we talk about ascension, people like you look it up and you're like, where do we go? I remember when I first heard the word ascension, I'm like, so where am I going? Like, where am I
mhm.
going to go? We're not actually going anywhere. What we're doing is connecting to higher vibrations, higher wisdom, and we're actually now meant to be connecting to that divine aspect of ourselves, our soul, and bringing it into our humanness. And so it's almost like descension in a way, like if you're going to get semantic about it, but we're bringing our divine self, our eternal self, into this lifetime so that we can be this whole human and divine, beautiful being that acknowledges its eternalness and its
What does
energeticness.
this higher vibration feel like for somebody who's like, what does this feel like?
So there's a couple of interesting things. I was thinking about this morning. So when I started connecting to energy, I was still like in my menopause, I was having a lot of hot flashes. Like my menopause was pretty manageable in terms of I didn't have the crazy hormonal kind of shifts all over the place. I had hot flashes like all the time. And I had some weight gain and those kinds of things. But as I started to connect to energy and channel, and I would be channeling like Archangel Michael or different consciousness, I would get so hot. It was literally like a hot flash.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that the hot flashes were going away. And what I was doing, I was connecting to higher vibration and higher energies. So I love hot flashes now. And when I tap in or if I'm doing energy work, I get like crazy big heat. So that's one way, like if you're really starting to like step into things and you recognize that heat that rises within you, the warmth, that's kind of a spiritual connection I'm finding. It's not for everyone, but it is one clue. When you connect to energy, you feel a buzz.
Mm.
There is a warmth and a buzz and a tingling. I call them angel hugs. And your body tingles, like physically tingles. And then sometimes you hear a low hum in your ears or like in
Mhm.
your ears. I remember the first time I walked into intuitive development class and I had the strangest sound in my ears. And I asked Deb Kemp, the teacher, And she said, oh, that's spirit speaking to you. And so what I've realized is, and part of it is I'm hearing my own vibration. I'm hearing my energetic field with that hum and that buzz. So if anybody's sort of feeling that, um, there is sometimes it takes your breath away. Like you feel more expanded, and maybe you might be a little bit dizzy at first because there's something going on. When I connect with my clairvoyance, I literally physically feel my forehead stretch, which is a very trippy feeling. It
Mhm.
comes as you start to engage with things. And it can be a rush of energy, like
Mm.
so those are sort of the physical things that you might feel. There are like knowings that you just cannot shake, and it might seem strange, or you start to notice, like noticing numbers, like all the, people tease you about, oh, 11, 11, 11, 11, but it's real.
I
Like
see that one all the time.
so 1111 is 11 ones are oneness. 11 is about being on your path. And I always imagine the space between the ones as your path, and you're just supposed to be moving forward. So if 1111 is showing up, you're in alignment with where you're supposed to be. And so
Mm.
to pay attention to that. If you see fours, those are the angels saying, hey, high five. And threes are being connected to like that mind, body, spirit, totally balanced, connected to divine love within the human experience. Like there's all different kinds of ways to read numbers. Somebody will say a word, and then like randomly you'll hear another word, and then you'll see it written on the side of a truck, right? You pay attention to all these things. I've gotten really, really good at it over 6 years because I've learned the power of it.
Mhm.
And now it's amazing. I feel like sometimes I'm standing and there's just a vortex of synchronicities. And you can use tools, oracle cards, and all of those types of things. And then you'll realize like the synchronicities and how you're feeling and what a card will say, or someone has told you something, and then you're trying to make a decision and you're like, the same card keeps coming up.
Mhm.
Those are it's very magical, right? And it's hard for some people to believe, especially with the logical mind. And so I always say, what if you let yourself believe for like just one moment?
Yeah.
Just one. Like, what's it going to hurt? Be like, tap into that inner child that believed in magic all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us have lost our ability. I know I have. I definitely need more fun in my life. I tap into that magical play, do more of that because I've been a very serious type A,
Mhm.
outcome driven, go, go, go. And I'm like, okay,
A-type businesswoman.
oh yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's play. But it's interesting when you mention the higher vibration, for me, my body disappears. So that is, I become one with everything around.
Mm-hmm.
And I really noticed this. I've talked about rolling so much, but when I started rolling, because before that I was so dense and I didn't realize
Mm-hmm.
in my like dense. And I started being on that roller, and I would say to the ladies, can you feel the tingle? Can you feel like your body's expanding? It's like looking up in a beautiful dark night with the stars, that feeling.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, there's like, maybe a little, no, don't really understand what you're saying. And then they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm feeling that with
Yes.
that
Yeah.
feeling
It
that.
feels like being in love.
Yeah, even now, and that's why I called my business Vibrant Living, because it is this, I am like vibrating. I can feel like there is more space in your body,
Yes.
matter. There is more space. And when the matter connects, right? Like the screen going through the screen, that's when you have pain. That's when you have discomfort. It can be and typically in our 3D physical world, it comes out as physical pain,
Yeah.
right? And so it's stepping back and realizing not to allow this density to happen with our thoughts, because thoughts become dense as
Oh,
well,
yeah.
right? And so dense thought is anger and fear. A light thought is love and
Yeah.
encouragement. So again, if you can just start
Joy. Joy is like so high.
joy, right? And so when you can start to flip these switches of like even asking yourself, like, why do I feel angry right now? Who triggered me? And then I'll do like the Reiki movement where I just kind of like roll it off my body sometimes, like
Yeah.
just fluff up my energy and move it through me. So it's instead of holding onto it and festering, and I'm going to be angry because this person ticked me off and I'm going to hold it in. it's only hurting you.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I
Mhm.
know. Yeah. And that's the other thing is like, as women, we're so worried about other people are going to think or how other people see us. And that's one of the big first things I started to heal was judgment, judgment of myself, judgment and judgment of others that, we all have it, and judgment of situations and all of those kinds of things. And as you start to just shed that and bring in the self-love and the self-forgiveness, and it is so powerful,
So
hugely
what would be
powerful.
one step that somebody could do? Because I know judgment is a big one. Like,
Mhm.
even if we're unconsciously judging somebody, because, I want to say that I'm not judgmental, but there's certain things that trigger me to be judgmental. And I judge myself, and it is a heavy, catty energy to me. I don't want to have it. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
guess part of it is noticing when, and this is what I've done. So this is what I've done. If I see somebody and I feel that judgment coming in of like, I'll just use something so superficial, like, oh, they should have short hair instead of long hair. Like, that's not anything I would think of, and be like, well, why am I thinking that? Why does that bother me? They can do whatever
Right.
they want.
Right.
Why
It's
is that
often a
triggering me?
Yeah,
Why is
right.
that?
Well, most of the time it's because it's mirroring something to you that you're uncomfortable with. And so
Yeah.
that first acknowledgement is like, okay, so why is that bothering me? Because it has
Mhm.
nothing to do with them, right? The other piece is I always say, I don't know their backstory. I don't like if
Yeah.
it's something like I don't understand their life. I don't know where
Yeah.
they come from. I don't know anything about them. And so I sort of decide, I got to a point where I decided I'm just going to hold space for that. I'm going to acknowledge that it's not working for me and it's not where I'm at. Um, but it's okay. Like we're allowed to have a diverse opinion about things, even if it's like completely wrong within our perspective,
Mhm.
as long as it's not harming anyone.
Right.
Right? It's got to be from a place of just experience and understanding. And so trying to be as neutral as possible, it takes some time to get there, but most of the time it has to start with us. We are only judgmental to others because we are judgmental to ourselves. And so, what is it about me? And why am I trying to be the people pleaser? Why do I feel like I need to be like taking care of everyone before myself or being, why does it matter? Like, oh my goodness. I mean, and I was a figure skater at the highest level. And so, one of the biggest themes of consciousness or themes of life that I came in to heal was judgment. And I was put in a position, like my soul arranged my lifetime so that I would be in the highest judge sport in the world. Like
Mhm.
there's a way to work through that. Like it's like I think, wow, how beautiful and incredible and magical is that? And so I had many, many experiences where I had to really shed the people pleaser and this need to please, like just to nothing's good enough or it's got to be perfect and I'm a Virgo, so it's all that kind of thing. And
What
it's
is perfect anyway? What is,
we're all perfectly imperfect, right?
that's what
Like,
I asked my girlfriend, because she was like going on about like all this, and I said, what is perfect though? There is no perfect. There's
no, I
no
know.
perfect.
I know. And how you heal it is going to be different for everyone, but it
Mhm.
has to start with self-compassion and it has to, and honesty.
Mhm.
We have to be honest with ourselves. And you're not hurt, like it can be really difficult to be honest with ourselves, but once you start, it's like, okay, oh, yeah, I am kind of judgy. All right, let's work on that.
Mhm.
Simply starting to have the conversation with yourself.
Yeah, and then
And
talk.
it can be as deep or as shallow as you want to start. And
Mhm.
then it's layers and layers and layers. And sometimes one of the really teaching that I love that actually the angels brought me was this idea of the spiral of perspective. So you're working on something, like I'm working on judgment, and I feel like I have healed it, or I've done some really good work on it. And I go along with my life and do, 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 do. And then a year later, I find myself, it feels like I've fallen back into it again. But what you're really doing is you're looking at it from a higher perspective. And so you're just ready to peel back a new layer of all of it because the layers run deep. And so what you can say is like, oh, I've come a long way and now I'm ready to heal the next layer. And then you heal that one and you go along. And then like 3 years later, something triggers you and you go, oh man, I'm back. I'm all the way down here. No, you're not. You're way up here. Right. And so it's just this spiral of perspective. And you get to see it from the higher and higher and higher perspectives. And that's ascension too, right? Like you're raising your
And that's
vibration.
kind of what we're going through with this vibrational shift right now, is we are things that we didn't even talk about, pay attention to, question. Now we are doing it without just even thinking about it. At least I am. So I don't know what kind of bubble I live in sometimes.
We
Because
all have our own, right? We're all in our very own bubble. So that's why we can't judge others because they're in their own bubble.
exactly, but sometimes I think everybody knows what I know, and then I talk to people, but I look at it this way, because if I was to talk to a lawyer and they start throwing all their lingo around, I'm like, you've lost me. So I know that I have my bubble and they have their bubble, and there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with either of our bubbles, and we can learn from each other.
Yeah.
So, oh, well, this has just been, oh my gosh. So I can just, my whole body, I just love that feeling. Love that
Bring in the love.
bring in the love. Now, can you just quickly explain a little bit about your light language? I don't know if you want to do a sentence or two, not that it's like a sentence. If you want to share that, if not, that's fine.
No, it's
And
fine. Yeah.
okay, and then just let people know, oh, we didn't even, like, you can quickly talk about your book as well,
Yeah.
and then just carry on our conversation here. Yes.
Yeah. So I do something, it's so if you hear about energy healing and Reiki, it's like channeling energy that helps align and attune your energy centers and that kind of thing. So light language is a multidimensional language of energy and sound and frequency that comes from the heart and the soul and bypasses your busy thinking mind. And so it sounds like a language, but it has energy. And um, you can't translate it directly, but there is intention in it. So I'll just do like a quick little sample.
Mhm.
So, si varaturste veresinu mundiat, verasetuia rakainaste, sunja varasaina mundi vereteka.
Mm. See, my
It feels
body
pretty,
disappeared, and the tingling in my body is
right?
everywhere, right down the core to my extremities.
Right.
Mm,
So the intention to that was just to show gentle love and compassion to
mm,
ourselves in this moment now. And so I use that throughout my healing sessions, and I use them in my meditations and things like that, because it bypasses some of the stuff that, like, if you don't want to talk about forgiveness, the light language will talk to your heart and your soul about forgiveness. And so it really helps to smooth those things out. And so that's how I use it. And then I just have become an author. Like I've been an author for barely 2 weeks. I think it's 2 weeks today. So I have a new book, The Intimacy of Light, A Journey of Multidimensionality and Divine Love. Channa Dee is my authorship name. I'm not hiding behind it. It's just an energetic connection to Channa is my soul name, and Dee is my human nickname of everybody that loves me. And
mm.
so putting those together, it's the divine and the human. So that's Channa Dee. And the book is all the things I've been talking about in terms of connecting to your spirit and raising your vibration. I go through a lot of that. I talk about my spiritual awakening and how it unfolded and how I've come to trust the magic of the universe. I channeled it with a divine guide named Jeremiah that we have spent lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And he brings through teachings about multidimensionality and how we can use the understanding and the knowledge of who we have been in other lifetimes and how that can help us heal in this lifetime now. He talks about the nature of the soul, the nature of what it's like to be divine, the eternalness of all of us. And so, and we have spent many lifetimes together. So I tell all these soul stories. And so there's all kinds of really interesting, sometimes it's pretty out there stories, but there's lessons to be found in all of it. So it's a very kind of interesting and magical book, lots of energy, lots of attunements within it. So if you're
Very,
curious and you're looking to sort of understand more about the how, it is a spiritual guidebook as much as it is a cosmic memoir. So
oh, that sounds lovely, lovely.
yeah.
And you know what? Having the courage, because I cannot tell you how many women are like, I want to write a book, I want to do something. And I've done it, you've done it. It is a process. It's a very physical process. There's a lot
Hmm.
that goes into it. It's a lot of hard work. But I always just say to them, and this is something I've learned to do, let go of the outcome. Just
Yeah.
start writing. Just start writing, because I wrote my book for years before I actually brought it all together. And so if you want to start something, like we said at the beginning here, if you're thinking of anything, a book, movement, becoming a
New job, like whatever it is,
yeah,
right?
just take the next little step. Next little step. And if you don't have time to write, I say to people, talk into your phone. That wasn't available when I wrote a book, but I'm like, talk into your phone. Just let your stream of consciousness go,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it'll translate it into words, and you're starting to build something. That's the step of all of this kind of stuff. So
Right. And
you,
there's so many tools to be able to
oh,
like to self-publish now is just so different from when you did it and I did it,
yeah,
right?
oh,
It's so different.
yeah. So anything is doable. And, when we're talking about closing your eyes and turning inward, and use your imagination to see yourself holding the book, like, and see if
Yeah.
that feels right to you. And
Mhm.
I know that in my 20s, I knew I was going to be self-employed. I was going to write a book. I was going to live where I lived. And what I've learned, because at that time it's really interesting, in my 20s, I don't feel like I was in a hurry. And then
Yeah.
somewhere along my life, I started to get down on myself, because I wanted things to happen when I wanted them to happen. And I wasn't understanding the cosmic energy. And also that everything, like you said, are pieces of the puzzle. And you'll be like, oh, that's why I did that.
Yeah.
That's why I did that. And then all this puzzle just starts to, you start to see this bigger picture, and then you let go of it's just really understanding this process, because I was fighting with my eating disorder for so long, grinding and pushing,
Yeah.
and then I let it go, and oh my gosh. So any parting words, and where people can find you and your beautiful book?
You can find me at thesubtleshift.ca. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube under The Subtle Shift, so you can find my stuff there. The book is available on Amazon in ebook and paperback. And I also, if you're living in the area and you're interested in a copy, contact me, and I'd be happy to deliver it to you.
Yay.
So yeah,
Perfect. And Denise does in-person events, and also over Zoom. Just like
yep,
all of us, we are accessible anywhere to
yes,
anybody. So that's the power of the
very true.
internet and this
Yeah.
new, force we have stepped into.
Right. And I would say to everyone, there are no rules. No
Mm-hmm.
rules how you move through this part of your life, and to just embrace it and allow yourself to just love yourself and love your life.
Yeah, love
It's
yourself.
possible, sometimes it's hard, but you can get there.
That's beautiful words. Well, thank you so much for our time together. Thank you, ladies, for listening. And please share this episode. One of the things is, I'm a small little speck in this world, but I know that I have changed the lives of many by a ripple effect, right? And
Hmm.
just by sharing and being compassionate, sharing this message, sharing this podcast with somebody, it can be something that changes somebody's life.
Yeah.
Right. And so I find sometimes women tend to hold on to things and they don't want to share. And I'm trying to break that, to really share the messages so that we can elevate and uplift this consciousness and ourselves, and just
Yes.
vibrate as we go through our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. We owe it to each other. So I thank you for sharing and commenting, and I thank Denise for being on here today and sharing her light, and we'll see you in the next video, everybody.